If you're running ads to build your fan base on Spotify, there are really 3 destinations where you can send people from your ad to the platform to get more listeners and fans and streams and stuff like that. You can send them to your artist profile, which is a great way to sort of expand your entire catalog and get more followers in the process. Like when they land on your profile, that follow button is right in their face. There's a big green play button. They're going to hit your top 5 most popular songs. Win-win across the board. The second place is to send people directly to the song. This is a good way to boost a new release. Like on the day the song comes out, spend more money, send a lot of traffic to this song so that when they land, it auto plays and you'll get more streams. You won't get as many followers, but you will get more streams and more saves for that track, which will boost the popularity score and hopefully trigger the algorithm. But the third and kind of often overlooked place is to build your own playlist and send traffic to that. Now, this is more similar to sending traffic to your artist profile than it is sending it to the song. You can build in playlist saves and followers over time so you can retain those people and hit them again with new releases. Now, I have gone on record about how I feel about pitching to user-generated playlists on Spotify. And if you want to check out a video about that, I'll leave a link to do that in the description of this video if you haven't watched that before. But let me be clear, this is not that. This is not pitching to somebody else's playlist. This is not spraying and praying and signing up for some platform where you submit your song and then they connect you with playlist curators that you haven't vetted. None of that. This is building your own playlist with your own songs in it, as well as other people's songs to lift your entire catalog and explore some other benefits as well. So in this video, I want to touch on 3 specific benefits of building your own artist playlist on Spotify to help get more listeners and streams for your music. So the first benefit to building your own artist playlist is owning versus renting. Now, when we pitch to playlists, another curator is in charge of that playlist. They're in charge of the order of the songs. They can pull a song at any time, and they own the distribution for the music in that playlist in a sense. They don't own the playlist because actually Spotify owns the playlist. But kind of realistically speaking, unless they get booted off the platform, they own connecting with those people who have chosen to save that playlist to their catalog or their libraries on Spotify. So you are kind of not in any control at all. You're just renting space on somebody else's playlist. And as soon as they decide to pull you or push you down the list, it's kind of game over and there's nothing really you can do about it. And the same kind of applies to Spotify's editorial playlists. If somebody who is actually curating like a big bad editorial playlist, like Rap Caviar or something, somebody on Spotify's team is going to be moving that stuff around. They're going to be adding and removing your song, things like that. There are algorithmically generated editorials, which are based more on, the framework, the algorithm, the code, the math of Spotify that, move songs around based on that type of thing. But even still, you're sort of renting space on those playlists. If you build your own playlist, you are in complete control of everything about it. You can control which songs are on it, the order of those songs. You can pull songs at any time. You can move songs to the top of the list, and you own the distribution for all the music in that playlist. So if you do a good job in curating a playlist that is full of songs that people enjoy or that your specific audience enjoys, and they keep coming back and listening, and you refresh that playlist regularly, then you are in ownership. You own this thing that you can mix and match and adjust to benefit you in the long run. Now, the second reason it's a good idea to test building your own playlist on Spotify is you can use it to kind of hedge your bets. So if we take a step aside from sending traffic to our artist profile and we talk about sending traffic to a new release, the best way to get the popularity score of your song to go up the fastest and to springboard up to Discover Weekly and hopefully up to like algorithmically generated editorials, more radio play, all that kind of stuff, is to make a new release go off. And that's to run a release campaign using ads and send a lot of traffic to this song within the first 3 to 7 days. If you can pull that off, then you will kind of fast track a song up to a 20% popularity score where you can get on release radar for other people who don't follow you. And then hopefully if the engagement stays up, you can kind of springboard into Discover Weekly and then get all the other benefits of radio and hopefully other playlists as well. However, not every release campaign goes well. If you've ever run ads in your life, then you know that some songs do great for your ad campaign when you're trying to push a new release. but some songs don't do well at all. In my experience, the ones I think are going to do great end up doing worse, and the ones that I think are kind of meh end up doing better. I don't know why that is. Maybe my judgment is off, but that seems to be the case for me kind of across the board. My guess is something similar has happened to somebody watching this video as well. So you can't guarantee that a release is going to do well. This is one of the reasons it's important to consistently release new music and keep taking shots at the net. So like if one release doesn't do well, I've got another one coming out in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever your cadence is. I'll try again with that one. But with a playlist, if you have an evergreen ad that's growing this playlist, say you have one ad that's got, one song in it, and that song stays in the top 5 on the playlist. So when somebody lands, they're kind of guaranteed to hear it. And that ad is working. You're getting a great cost per result. You're constantly getting new playlist saves or followers. And you are constantly putting new material into that playlist. Well, you can take that new release, put it at the top of that playlist. And if the release campaign doesn't do well, you can take that budget and kind of juice the playlist campaign at the same time, or move it from here to there, push the playlist campaign. You've got an ad that's working. People are getting to the playlist. They're saving it and they're listening. And if that song is at the top, you can kind of pull, like, I don't want to say bait and switch. That's not the right term, but you can kind of like trade one for the other. This ad isn't doing well, but I know the song is good. This ad is doing well, and I know that when people get there, they're listening to the music. So bypass the bad ad campaign, use the good ad campaign, and get the results you're after in the first place. And so the third and last reason that I think it's a good idea to build your own artist playlist on Spotify is kind of a case for the algorithm. So if you build a playlist with your own music in it, as well as artists who you want your music to be listed alongside of, this is going to be good for you in the long run and good for your music in the long run in the eyes of Spotify's algorithm, right? We're just going to keep using that word. What Spotify does, its whole recommendation engine is it looks at what this listener is listening to, and it looks at what this listener is listening to, and so on and so forth, spider webbing out. But we'll just take two people, listener A and listener B. It's going to look at what they're listening to. It's going to look at what they have in common. They're listening to these 2 or 3 artists, but listener A is listening to these 3 other artists that listener B is not listening to, and listener B is listening to these 3 other artists that listener A is not listening to. So we're going to recommend listener B's artist to listener A and listener A's artist to listener B. So it crosses over and it looks at patterns and it tries to match that. So basically what they've done is they've taken the artists that are in common and they've associated those with all the other artists that aren't in common. And they also look at other things like genre and tempo and their whole breakdown of like speechiness and danciness and all the things that they use to analyze a track. And they're looking at all of that and they're going to try to recommend songs to people based on listening behavior. So if you put your songs in a playlist with other songs by other artists that have the same sort of qualities to their music, the same genre, the same like kind of tempo and feeling and mood, and you have a lot of people listening to you alongside of all these other artists, the recommendation engine is going to work in your favor in recommending your music to other people who are listening to the other artists in the playlists who might not yet have heard of you. So you're going to end up hopefully on more radio playlists alongside these artists. You're going to end up in more algorithmically generated playlists at large as your popularity scores increase for your songs alongside these other artists, which leads to more discovery, which is going to lead to more streams, the whole thing, right? So building your own artist playlist is a great way to educate the algorithm on who you're looking for on Spotify directly. Now, I know there are a lot of artists out there who are using this exact technique, building your own playlist to grow on Spotify. But I also know that there are a lot who aren't using it. So if you're one of the ones in the latter category and you haven't really thought much about building your own playlist of music on Spotify, maybe this is the sign that you need to give that a try. In my book, the 2 best destinations are going to be building your own playlist and going straight to the profile. I like running a release campaign just for a week maximum and then defaulting back to those 2 because you get long-term gains in those 2. You get long-term followers on Spotify who will be served up new music every time you release new material. It'll end up in their release radar playlists. And then you get long-term playlist saves or followers who will always come back as long as you're keeping your playlist fresh and listen to new music there as well. And though I don't like playlist pitching because I think that it's tough to guarantee who is doing a good job and who's botted their playlists, and you just don't get a whole lot of insight or oversight. If you're a good actor and you're building a playlist that is worthwhile, you're using ads and organic reach to grow it, and it is above board and it is on the level, then maybe you could be a good guy in this space and actually open up your playlist to submissions or other artists outside of just yourself and the ones that you want to include in there, and maybe help other artists along the way. If you want to use this sort of avenue, this playlist building avenue for good and be one of the good guys, I got no problem with that. I think that's a really good thing. So there's another option there as well to contribute to the musical community. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have and you want to go deeper with topics just like this every single week, then I hope you'll subscribe to my newsletter, The One Thing. Every Tuesday, I send out one thing that I am either thinking about or testing to succeed as an independent artist. So if you do want to subscribe to that, I'll leave a link to do so in the description of this video. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.